Welcome, dear viewers of Mr. Magazine, to another deep dive into the emotional undercurrents of Turkey's brightest stars. Before we begin unraveling today's story, one that carries both tenderness and heartbreak, don't forget to subscribe, tap the join button if you'd like to offer extra support, and remember that your comments truly breathe life into this channel. Now, let us step quietly behind the shimmering curtains of fame, where the lights glow bright but shadows often run deeper than the world imagines. For years, Aybüke Yılmaz had been perceived as one of the rare actresses who could maintain an enviable tranquility no matter the pressure around her. Viewers admired the way she carried herself, her voice always even and composed, her posture steady, her expression soft even when the questions thrown at her were not. She had cultivated an aura of refined restraint, the kind that made people believe she floated through the chaos of celebrity like an untouched, calm island. But on this particular day, during what was meant to be a routine interview inside a glistening studio, something within her quiet poise fractured, so delicately at first that only the most attentive observers noticed, and then so undeniably that the entire room seemed to hold its breath. The conversation, initially innocent and focused on upcoming rehearsals and promotional plans, suddenly veered toward a name that had long lived in the intertwined imagination of fans, Emre Özmen. What happened next felt less like a slip of emotion and more like the opening of a door she had been guarding carefully for months. Her voice, usually steady like a violin tuned to perfection, fluttered with a tremor that spread across the room. And then came a confession so unvarnished that even the cameras seemed to pause. "I'm trying to move forward," she murmured, her eyes fixed somewhere beyond the studio lights. "But the world speaks of him everywhere I go. A melody on the street, a perfume passing by, a corner we once walked through, they all pull him back to me." There was no accusation in her tone, no trembling anger, no trace of resentment. What she offered was simply truth, stripped of ornamentation. Truth that had been waiting beneath the polished facade she presented to the world. The silence afterward felt like a resting heartbeat, heavy and fragile. And then, the sentence that would ignite social media like wildfire slipped out almost unintentionally. "People think a strong woman never bends. But real strength is knowing how to stand up again, even when your heart breaks quietly where no one can see." Within minutes of airing, this line was clipped, translated, reposted, quoted, and transformed into digital lanterns floating across platforms around the world. From Latin America to Southern Europe, from the Middle East to far-off places where Turkish dramas had carved devoted audiences, people sent messages of solidarity. "Healing is also a victory," one viewer wrote. "You owe nothing to anyone," wrote another. Suddenly, the digital universe became a mosaic of old photographs of her and Emre. Pictures from film sets, affectionate looks caught by paparazzi cameras, interviews where they seemed to orbit around each other with instinctive ease. Their bond had always felt astonishingly genuine, almost cinematic in its sincerity, which is perhaps why their separation felt like a shared heartbreak. Close sources, speaking softly and cautiously, revealed what her trembling voice already implied: the breakup left her with wounds that professionalism could not fully hide. Even in carefully staged photo shoots, even beneath flawless makeup and jewel-bright studio lights, something elusive flickered in her gaze, an emptiness shaped like a memory. According to those near her, she never truly stopped loving Emre. She simply tucked that love into a quiet corner of her heart, treating it with the same respect with which she lived her life. When the interview asked her whether she held any bitterness, she responded with a grace that stunned even the seasoned journalists in the room. "I won't tarnish what we lived. Emre was an important chapter of my story. We're not walking the same path anymore, but I want peace to reach him wherever he goes." Her sincerity cut through the noise of celebrity gossip like a silver thread, elegant and unforced. And then she said the line that made the studio feel impossibly small. Some loves don't end. They simply reshape themselves. The audience did not know whether to breathe or remain still, as if any movement might disturb something sacred. Naturally, attention turned toward Emre Özmen, the other half of this once beloved pair. While fans scoured his accounts, hoping for a sign, a word, a symbol, a fleeting acknowledgement, he remained serene behind a wall of deliberate silence. Those close to him disclosed that he watched the interview alone, without a reaction, and afterwards sat motionless for a long stretch, letting her words settle inside him like dust on an untouched bookshelf. His silence isn't distance, a friend explained. It's his way of honoring what they shared. Speaking now might reopen wounds that have begun to close. He chooses to protect the past rather than use it. That explanation, rather than frustrating fans, seemed to intensify the emotional gravity of the situation. Silence, after all, can sometimes be a louder declaration of love than any public statement. Meanwhile, Aybüke threw herself into her work with newfound intensity. Script pages became protective shields, long shooting days distracted her from memories that came uninvited. Yet even on set, unexpected reminders appeared. A melody drifting from a sound technician's playlist, a backdrop reminiscent of a place they once filmed together, a line in a script that echoed a personal moment. Colleagues observed her quietly stepping aside between takes, resting her hands on her knees, gathering herself before returning with her trademark professional poise. No one pried. No one needed explanations. On her social media, fans dissected every image she shared. A snapshot of a cloudy sky. A verse from a beloved poet. A faintly melancholic sunset. Was she hinting at longing? Was she offering closure? Was she speaking without words? The online audience built theories upon theories, some hoping for reconciliation, others simply praying for her healing. Emre, for his part, continued down his disciplined routine. A short phrase he posted, "Some journeys choose us, and we walk them with respect," sent a ripple of speculation across platforms. And then came the photo that intensified the whispers. A clock, frozen at exactly 7:08 p.m. Whether it meant anything or nothing at all remains a mystery only he knows. Among their mutual friends, a simple yet powerful sentence began circulating. If they meet again, it will be when the ache is no longer sharp. Not soon, not never, just someday, when the edges have softened. Both actors move forward in their own ways. She reads scripts late into the night, stepping onto her balcony to breathe in the city. He trains, studies, shapes his plans carefully. Neither tries to force healing with superficial displays of moving on. People who once saw them together recall the effortless chemistry between them, the quiet laughter, the instinctive glances, the kind of emotional shorthand that no director could ever manufacture. Perhaps that is why their separation feels so profoundly human. Before the program ended, Aybüke expressed gratitude to her admirers. "Your messages kept me standing on days when I couldn't find my strength. I don't need anger to grow. Sometimes growth happens in silence." And then she closed with words that felt like the final note of a bittersweet song. "I loved him. A part of me always will. And the only thing I hope for him is serenity." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't theatrical. It was simply honest, and honesty can be heavier than any scandal. Since that interview, the emotional echo has lingered like a long melody that refuses to fade. Perhaps the real headline is not their separation, but their dignity. In a world addicted to spectacle, Aybüke Yılmaz and Emre Özmen chose tenderness. They proved that tears are not signs of defeat but of having felt something real enough to break us open. And dear viewers, as we close this emotional chapter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the join button to help Mr. Magazine continue bringing you stories that reveal the truths behind the spotlight. Tell us in the comments. Do you think love truly ever ends? Should Aybüke and Emre find their way back to each other someday? And which celebrity stories would you like us to cover next? Until the next deep dive, this has been Mr. Magazine, where every story has a heartbeat.